Alright, so this is just crazy. Sophie Turner has filed a bombshell lawsuit against her ex Joe Jonas, and it is so much worse than we thought. She's now accusing him of some pretty shocking stuff. For one thing, she basically admitted that she was blindsided by his decision to file for divorce. She said the breakdown of their marriage happened very suddenly after an argument that they had on August 15th. In fact, it was so unexpected that she said she learned about their split from the media at the same exact time as the rest of the world. Now this lines up pretty well with the reports that Joe caught Sophie doing something shocking on the Ring security camera at their home, and apparently that's the reason why he decided to file for divorce. So whatever he saw or heard her doing was the last straw in their marriage, and at that point he realized it was over. Multiple inside sources who have direct contact with Joe have revealed that he has access to a Ring security camera at their home, which was their Miami mansion that they had just sold for $15 million. And now this divorce just keeps getting messier and messier because Sophie has demanded that their 2 children be returned to England. In a lawsuit filed in a Manhattan court last week, she made it clear that she wants their 3-year-old and their 14-month-old daughter to live with her in England. The complaint against Joe Jonas calls for the immediate return of children wrongfully removed or wrongfully retained. In fact, Sophie's legal team used the words wrongful retention. She claims that Joe agreed to declare England their forever home in conversations that took place over Christmas in 2022, while they were preparing for the year ahead. She said that after they sold their Miami home, they were in the process of buying a home in the English countryside in April, at which point Sophie started filming on the Joan miniseries that she was working on this summer. And once Joe started touring with the Jonas brothers, the documents claim that the 2 of them agreed to let the girls join him because he had more daytime hours to be available to them, rather than Sophie, who was filming. Although she apparently had a lot of hesitation about this temporary arrangement. The issue of custody came to a head when the 2 of them met up to discuss the next steps after their split 2 weeks later. At this point, Sophie says that she once again brought up their plan to move to England, but Joe no longer agreed to it. In fact, he had a complete change of heart. According to the documents, he had possession of the children's passports, and he refused to return them to Sophie or to send their children home to England with their mother. And he is really putting his foot down over this issue, because his attorney confirmed that he would not be returning the passports and he would not provide consent for his daughters to move. This is a really crazy development considering that fans had no real idea what happened between them. A few weeks ago, news broke that Joe had his people contact at least 2 divorce lawyers in LA, and he was ready to throw in the towel on their 4-year marriage, which he claimed was irretrievably broken. In the filing, he also revealed that his 2 daughters with Sophie were living with him most of the time leading up to the split. Apparently, over the last 3 months, he's been caring for their children pretty much all the time, even while his band was touring. On the surface, Joe and Sophie's relationship showed no signs of trouble, but it's now being said that they've had some serious problems for the last 6 months. An inside source from his camp gave us a bit more information about their split. They said, "She likes to party, he likes to stay home. They have very different lifestyles." Quote, "Divorce was a last resort for Joe. He never wanted to break up his family, but he had to take what he felt was the best course of action for his girls." He went on to say that an unhappy home isn't a home, and the truth is that he and Sophie were really going through it this year. Around the same time, photos and videos came out showing Sophie downing shots in the UK while Joe was away on tour and presumably looking after the kids. And that seemed to be the main story that was going around. The idea that Sophie is a big drinker and she essentially left their family for long periods of time without a care in the world for Joe or their daughters. But people are now saying that Joe is trying to do everything in his power to try and destroy her reputation and paint her as a bad mother. At the time of their split, they each posted a joint statement to their social media accounts. It said, "After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly, this is a united decision, and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy for us and our children." Unfortunately, things just seem to keep getting worse for them because this divorce has been anything but private.
At number 10, we have Sophie finding out through the media that Joe has filed for divorce. Earlier in the month, Joe filed for divorce from Sophie, and it wasn't revealed until recently that Sophie actually found out Joe wanted a divorce at the same time the whole world was finding out. On the 6th of September, a day after the divorce filing, Sophie and Joe released a joint statement on their Instagram that discussed how they both mutually decided to end their marriage and acknowledged the many narratives circulating why they have chosen to separate, but claimed this was a united decision and hopes everyone respects their privacy. This was the only joint statement they had, and Joe actually continued to deny that Sophie found out through the media. A representative for Jonas told TMZ after multiple conversations with Sophie, Joe initiated divorce proceedings in Florida. Sophie was aware that Joe was going to file for divorce. So clearly there are 2 sides of the story. What do you think about this? And for number 9, we have Sophie sues Joe. Following Following the weeks of the divorce filing, Sophie has actually sued Joe in order to return their children back to England. According to the filing, Joe allegedly wouldn't turn over their kids' passports. The court documents that were filed claim that the children have been wrongfully kept in New York City while they're supposed to be, in quote, their habitual resident, which is in England. Apparently, the two discussed in April about how they would make England their permanent home after they decided they wanted their kids to attend school there. Apparently, they moved into a long-term rental for the time being back in May, and they also had plans to move there in December. However, due to all the complications over the summer they had, a change in plans. And for number 8, we have the petition. Allegedly, the couple had an argument that occurred on the 15th of August, which is Joe's birthday. He then apparently filed for divorce on September 1st, which Sophie claims she didn't know about until the 5th, and that day was the same day everyone else was finding out. According to the petition, Joe wrongfully claimed the children were living in Florida for the past 6 months before the divorce filing. The petition was filed for all the legal action Sophie was taking due to Joe allegedly not giving her passports for their children to return to England. Due to this, the petition states this is a breach of the mother's rights of custody under English law. England being the children's habitual residence, their children have dual citizenship and are apparently fully involved and integrated in their daily lives in England, as the oldest daughter attends school there and both daughters are involved in playdates and cultural activities. And for number 7, we have parenting. Since the filing, there were rumors that Joe was always with the kids while Sophie was partying, which painted a bad picture for some. However, according to the documents, it seems like the two have planned this arrangement before any of this happened. Sophie was gonna be in Europe filming the Joe miniseries during the summer, and Joe was starting his tour alongside his brothers Kevin and Nick, and apparently the two decided Joe would take care of the kids while Sophie was filming because he had more time during the day to look after them. And allegedly, Sophie had hesitation for this temporary arrangement. Turner alleges that the breakdown of their marriage happened so suddenly after the two got into an argument on August 15th, and Joe filed for divorce on the 1st of September. Sophie claims she found out through the media days later. It seemed like a big discussion surrounding their divorce was where their kids were gonna go, as it seems like the two aren't on the same page. And for number 6, we have, of course, Taylor Swift hanging out with Sophie Turner after the filing. One of the photos that came out recently was of Sophie and Taylor hanging out after the news about the divorce. And this was shocking, as many already know Joe dated Taylor back in 2008 for only a few short months, but has been remembered by many as Taylor shared how Joe ended this relationship. He actually broke up with her through a 25-second phone call, and many had their opinions as they believed Taylor deserved more respect than that. Taylor's song titled Mr. Perfectly Wrong is actually speculated to be about Joe, as it talks about this mystery man always being able to have a positive public reputation on camera and flips things onto you, or in this case Taylor and even Sophie, publicly, while being different behind the scenes. Well, now the two exes of Joe Jonas are making the best out of their similarities, as they have been pictured going out together since all of this went down. A source told People that Taylor has been a great friend to Sophie, and the two are able to talk about anything, and apparently hanging out with Taylor has been cheering Sophie up during this difficult time. And for our number 5, we have Joe allegedly not being supportive after this birth of their second child. Apparently, quickly after the birth of their second child, Turner didn't want to leave the house because she didn't want to be photographed or attend any events, especially since she was still recovering from giving birth. Plus, the media tends to point their fingers and overanalyze women and their bodies, especially right after pregnancy, and Sophie has already talked about mental health in the past and how it's been difficult being in the public eye from a young age, so it only makes sense that it would be something she doesn't want to be a part of. Well, apparently Joe was pressuring Sophie to attend these industry events alongside him, even though she expressed her discomfort. Although she did go a few times, allegedly she was open about how she was feeling as she discussed being uncomfortable. And apparently when she didn't attend these events, Joe was expressing his disappointment in Sophie because he felt like she was missing out and thought she needed to go out more. And for number 4, we have the alleged PR stunt. The first photos the public got of Joe after he filed for divorce from Sophie actually got him in a lot of trouble. And if you're wondering what photo would anger the public, well, it was him having lunch. Not only was he having lunch on a patio, he was with his 2 daughters aged 1 and 4, as well as their nanny. People were angry because they believed this was Joe's way to spite Sophie. She has been open with how being in the spotlight from a young age has negatively impacted her mental health, as a lot of people have negative things to say about her and her appearance. Well, it would only make sense if Sophie wanted her daughters to be brought up away from the spotlight to save those girls from going through what she's been through. Especially with the media often being a lot harsher towards women than men, keeping the kids away from the media allows them to hopefully grow up in the most normal way possible. Well, I could only imagine how upset and furious Turner would be after seeing these paparazzi photos, as you could see their 2 daughters' faces. Obviously, Obviously, you can't blame the paparazzi, but many believe Joe planned this because why else would he be sitting outside facing the cameras, especially with all the media attention surrounding the divorce. Sophie actually accidentally posted a video of their oldest daughter back in May of this year, but quickly deleted it and released a statement right after that read, "Earlier today, I made an honest mistake accidentally posting a video of our daughter on Instagram stories. We have always advocated for our kids' right to privacy, so sharing this publicly is against anything I stand for. Our children deserve the right to grow up out of the public eye, to learn and grow in private." She further said, "If I ever were to post anything of our kids, know that it is unquestionably a mistake. I would greatly appreciate if anyone who has reposted on any other platform please delete the video." So it's clear Turner has always wanted her kids to be away from the public eye, and Joe seemed to be on the same page as her at the time. And for number 3, we have some calling Joe misogynistic. After the news about the divorce became public, it seemed the media were all attacking Sophie because of the rumors circulating at the time. One rumor was that Joe saw something on the Ring camera that Sophie either did or said that made him realize they needed to end their relationship for good. People were also quick to speculate on cheating, but it did seem like a lot of the blame was being pushed onto Sophie, especially because of an anonymous source who claimed Joe filed because Sophie likes to party. Some fans began to think something was up and even claimed Sophie was a victim of a smear campaign, with some even alleging that Joe and his team were the ones behind the anonymous source. While many fans recognized that there was a narrative going around that Joe was being a good father and Sophie was apparently known for partying too much, especially with Joe's claims in the past discussing Sophie as an introvert, which we will discuss later on. Some began to label Joe as misogynistic because he has talked about how he loves to party, whereas Sophie likes to stay at home with the kids in the past. But now that Sophie is allegedly partying, that's when fans are quick to defend her. And for number 2, we have contradicting statements. What seemed like a perfect couple at first quickly turned sour, as many were quick to notice how Joe has been contradicting his own statements in the past. In an interview the ex-lovebirds did during COVID lockdowns, they elaborate on how Sophie loves being at home, whereas Joe feels like he's in jail because he's a social butterfly in the relationship, and even referred to Turner as a homebody. Well, allegedly, Jonas would push Turner to attend industry events with him even though she expressed how she didn't want to go. Apparently, some people overheard Joe talking to someone as he opened up how he felt frustrated because Sophie wasn't at the event with him. It seemed like the two were not seeing eye to eye when it came to attending events, but rather than understanding each other's boundaries and wishes. Allegedly, Joe talking to others about his frustrations towards Sophie did not seem like the right move, but who am I to say? And for our number 1 spot, we have family comparing. There has been speculation that one issue that could have contributed towards Turner and Jonas's divorce may have been family pressure. Turner was allegedly the source who claims to be a friend of Sophie's, told Daily Mail that Sophie has been feeling very stressed because Joe and her family keep comparing her to Nick, Joe's brother, and his wife Priyanka Chopra. Nick and Priyanka apparently are on the same page as they both are ready to settle down and raise their family, whereas Sophie feels like she's still in her 20s and may feel obligated to settle down because of Jonas's wants, and he's apparently ready. Joe also did begin dating Sophie when she was 19 and he was 26, which apparently has also caused issues, as the source claims Sophie just wants to have fun as she feels like she's missed out on her youthful years. I would feel so stressed out too if my in-laws were trying to make me more like my sister-in-law. Although Joe and Sophie's values and goals probably lined up at one point, it's clear that over the years they both want different things, not only for themselves but for their family as well. Just a few days ago, the two were pictured for the first time having lunch together with their daughters since the very public news about their divorce. Hopefully they're taking the time to continue to build a good relationship and co-parenting techniques for their daughters. Now let's shift our focus to the ongoing saga involving Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's divorce. Joe recently made headlines for addressing the rumors and speculation surrounding the end of their marriage during a live show. To provide some context, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's divorce has been a hot topic since the filing became public, and speculations about the reasons behind the split have been rampant, with some even suggesting that Joe's first public appearance post-divorce seemed like a PR stunt. Joe was photographed with his 2 daughters and their nanny enjoying lunch outdoors. While this might seem like an everyday activity for most of us, for celebrities facing media scrutiny, it raised eyebrows. Sophie Turner had been vocal about her desire to keep their children's lives private and shielded from the spotlight, so seeing their daughter's photos surface right after the divorce announcement fueled suspicions about Joe's intentions. And since then, many people have spoke out with their opinions all over social media. The public's reaction was swift, with many beginning to speculate that Joe might be the real issue in their marriage. So over the weekend, Joe Jonas took a bold step during one of his shows in LA to confront those ongoing rumors and address the controversy. He spoke directly to the audience, stating that unless they hear it from his lips, they shouldn't believe it at all. And Joe expressed his gratitude for the love and support he and his family received during this challenging time. The public's reaction to Joe's statement has been mixed, with fans divided into Team Joe and Team Sophie. Regardless of opinions, what matters most is that they can co-parent effectively and provide a safe and happy environment for their daughters. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the situation, and if you were surprised Joe even addressed it at all. I know I'm a little surprised.
So there's been some big news going on over the weekend. It seems like everyone's favorite couple, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner, are headed for a divorce. Sources with direct knowledge spoke to TMZ and said that Joe had his people contact at least 2 divorce lawyers in LA, and apparently he is on the cusp of filing divorce documents to end his marriage. It's been said that the couple have had some serious problems in their relationship for at least 6 months. According to TMZ, over the last 3 months, Joe has been caring for their 2 young children pretty much all of the time, even while his band was touring. On the surface, it seems like there's been no outward signs of trouble. They recently sold their Miami mansion and seem to be happier than ever. Joe and Sophie also attended a lot of events together, but in recent weeks he's been photographed without his wedding ring quite a lot. This news was clearly pretty shocking, since the couple is literally a fan favorite. They know how to deliver a masterclass in couple coordinated red carpet wear, and over the years they've become one of the most enviable yet still relatable Hollywood couples out there. At last year's Met Gala, they coordinated their outfits, both wearing black Louis Vuitton looks. Sophie chose a gothic bride-inspired ensemble, which consisted of a floor-length embellished black dress with black platform heels, while Joe wore a white tuxedo with a long lace coat tail and silver jewelry. The two of them first linked up in 2016 and they got engaged a year later. In 2019, they were married in a Vegas-style wedding and have been living the family life ever since. They welcomed their first kid in 2020 and then another one in 2022. So it's safe to say that a lot has happened for them in the past 4 years. In an interview with Harper's Bazaar UK in 2019, Sophie spoke about their meeting and she basically said that they got set up. She explained that they had a lot of mutual friends and that they've always been trying to introduce them for a long time. Apparently they were following each other on Instagram and Joe direct messaged her one day out of the blue. When describing him, she said, "He's lovely, he's just the funniest. You wouldn't expect he's about to turn 30 this year. He's the most fun, energetic, positive person I've ever seen. I'm pessimistic, so we balance each other out." Soon after that meeting, Joe invited her to meet up with his tour that was passing through the UK. She said that the two of them had an instant connection, even though she hadn't expected to like him. Quote, "He didn't bring security, he brought a friend and they drank just as hard as the rest of us. I remember us two spending only a couple of minutes on the dance floor and then we found a space in the far corner and we just talked." Sophie went on to say, "We talked for hours and hours and hours and I wasn't bored. It wasn't contrived, it wasn't small talk, it was just so easy. Soon we were inseparable and then I went on tour with him." Professionally, Joe and Sophie have both been very busy these days. Joe has gone on tour with his brothers recently and is scheduled to perform through the winter. Sophie's done some more acting stuff in recent years, but she isn't nearly as active during her Game of Thrones days. Despite the divorce rumors, or maybe because of them, Joe's wedding band was seen back on his finger over the weekend. He was pictured sporting his ring during a Jonas Brothers concert in Austin, Texas, and it definitely seemed like he was making a statement. In a series of photos posted by PopCrave on Twitter, his gold wedding band could be clearly seen on his left hand while he was performing on stage. Not only that, but Sophie was there too, and he also sang a love song that he wrote for her during the stop on their North American tour. His wedding band was also visible in a snap shared on the official Jonas Brothers Instagram account on Saturday. The caption read, "Happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. This tour has been incredible so far. Having a little family time in the Texas sunset tonight before a big Austin show tomorrow." Apart from that, the two of them have also been pretty active on social media. On August 15th, Sophie marked her husband's 34th birthday on Instagram. She posted a photo of them wearing matching green and white striped pajamas, and it's clear that she still wanted to make him feel appreciated. In this case though, no matter what happens, Sophie and Joe are still going to be amazing parents to their 2 daughters. So divorce is not going to be the end of that kind of relationship. Now, did you hear what happened at Burning Man? Because it's a complete disaster. Tens of thousands of people who spent days stranded at the festival have now started to leave, which has created a huge traffic jam in the Nevada desert and of course even more chaos. Heavy rain created a mud bath and flooded roads, trapping around 72,000 people there. Traffic was allowed to leave as of Monday afternoon, and unsurprisingly, everyone had the same plan to get out of there, which made the wait time to leave the festival around 5 hours hours on Tuesday, and there were reports of high tensions in the queue. In a statement, the county sheriff said that the exhausted festival goers started lashing out at each other while they were stuck trying to leave. He said that large amounts of property and trash had been strewn around the festival site, including vehicles that had to be abandoned. Apparently, some people were unwilling to wait to leave the desert, so they decided to abandon their vehicles and their personal property. The event's traditional finale, which is the burning of an effigy, was postponed twice before finally taking place on Monday evening. All of this because of a massive rainstorm, one that hit the Black Rock Desert near the end of last week. It's thought to have been the longest, heaviest rainfall since the festival started more than 30 years ago. And not even celebrities were safe from all the chaos. While around 65,000 people remained on the side, some chose to hike 5 miles through the mud to the nearest road. Among those people were Diplo and Chris Rock. The two of them hitched a ride out of the festival in the bed of a fan's pickup truck, but they still had to hike miles through thick mud. Chris shared a short video on Instagram stories of the swampy conditions at the festival grounds. Diplo then posted a series of videos showing him boarding a flight muddy and shoeless. He said, "No one was making it out of Burning Man, like they didn't believe they would walk 6 miles in the mud. No one believed we would get to DC for the show tonight, but God did." After making it out of the desert, he said he flew to Washington DC for a Labor Day event at Eco Stage and played for 3 hours after walking 4 hours after the desert and taking a flight. People were told to take shelter and conserve food, fuel, and water, but the bad weather meant that the portable toilet facilities were temporarily out of use because service vehicles were unable to drive on the mud to empty them. At first, the festival goers tried to embrace the weather, but by Sunday, the exhilaration was replaced with exasperation, and suddenly everyone wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. Burning Man is one of America's most well-known arts and culture events, where visitors create a temporary city in the middle of the desert. It was founded back in June of 1986 and was first held in Nevada's Black Rock Desert in 1990. Tickets can be very hard to get, and people sometimes have to do interviews to get into popular camps, and they have to prove their commitment to its ideals, so it's all very exclusive. In recent years, it's mostly visited by tech bros, celebrities, and influencers, which kind of finds itself at odds with the festival's original principles. And nowadays, there's more rules being broken than ever before. A big part of Burning Man always used to be about leaving no trace, but a lot of the time there are piles of debris scattered in the desert, and there's been a lot of chaos with festivals in general. Most people remember how disastrous 2017's Fire Festival was. It was heavily promoted by social media influencers as a luxurious weekend in paradise, where people would get to rub shoulders with celebrities, eat top-notch food, and see performances by artists like Blink-182, Migos, and Major Lazer. But when the attendees who'd spent thousands of dollars on tickets finally arrived on the island, they were met with mass disorganization, half-built tents, and catered food that was basically just dry cheese sandwiches. Upon arrival, the 5,000 ticket holders were all told that the festival's headlining musicians had already pulled out of the lineup, all because of the chaotic planning. The event will probably go down in history as one of the biggest festival disasters of all time. In fact, there's even a Netflix documentary about it, which captures exactly what went wrong and when it all started to fall apart. What was really crazy about that one specifically was the fact that it was marketed as a luxurious paradise of a festival, and it turned out to be the complete opposite. It was co-founded and marketed by rapper Ja Rule, who had influencers like Kendall Jenner, Emily Ratajkowski, and Hailey Bieber all promoting the event. Interestingly enough, when it all hit the fan, Ja Rule later said that he was also scammed by the organizer, Billy McFarland, and he was then dismissed from a $100 million class action lawsuit. In the end, Billy McFarland was outed as a fraud. In 2018, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison after pleading guilty to charges of wire fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements to federal law enforcement. It came out that he had defrauded Fire Festival investors and ticket vendors of about $26 million, and that he participated in a separate sham ticket scheme where he sold fake tickets. He was eventually released from prison in 2022 after serving nearly 4 years of his 6-year sentence. But the festival itself will never be forgotten. Moving on, is Olivia Rodrigo feuding with Taylor Swift? She's now addressed the rumors in a new interview. She talked about her song Vampire, which is rumored to be about Taylor. The song references a bloodsucker who is bleeding her dry, which led to a lot of speculation about who it could be about. Fans were convinced that Taylor is the subject of the song, and that started a ton of online theories. The plot apparently thickened when fans noticed that Olivia did not attend any of Taylor's shows in her Eras tour. This surprised people because she's long been vocal about being a dedicated Swiftie. She's previously said that she always looked up to her. When asked about this feud in a new interview with The Guardian, Olivia said that she was surprised fans came to that conclusion. But when asked about her song Vampire, she did not actually deny it was about Taylor. Instead, she just said, "How do I answer this? I never want to say who any of my songs are about. I've never done that before in my career and probably won't. won't. I think it's better to not pigeonhole a song to being about this one thing. But why would people even come to this conclusion in the first place? Are Olivia and Taylor actually on bad terms with each other? The two of them started off very friendly, and Olivia declared herself as the world's biggest Swiftie in a radio interview. For her part, Taylor has also been very complimentary, and she's posted videos of Olivia on her Instagram praising her talent. The two of them met face to face in 2021 when they posted a picture together at the Brit Awards. So where do these rumors come from? Well, when Olivia's album Sour came out, it was pretty clear that Taylor had influenced the musical direction of one song called One Step Forward, Three Steps Back, since it used an interpolation of her track New Year's Day. She also explained the influence of the song and said, "I came up with the one step forward concept and I sort of wrote a verse and a chorus. I was in the car on a road trip, and when I got home, I decided to sing it over the chords of New Year's Day." This was approved by Taylor and her team, and she ended up being credited on the song. But weeks after the album's release, fans noticed that she had also been credited on Olivia's hit single Deja Vu. This was apparently due to the interpolation of another one of her songs called Cruel Summer. It was later reported that the 20-year-old had given a large sum of money in royalties to Taylor and her collaborators, who would now be getting a combined 50% share of the track. Although she hasn't publicly addressed the situation, she did speak about mean girls within the industry in a later interview. One of the reporters who spoke to her said, "There was a lot of bullying and a lot of jealousy from a lot of people whom I'd adored my whole life being mean girls," and she replied saying same. So of course some people guessed that she was alluding to a certain person.
Recently, people were speculating that reality star Kourtney Kardashian was having trouble with her pregnancy after her husband, Travis Barker, was forced to rush home from tour, canceling a number of Blink-182 shows at the last minute. All people knew was that Barker had a family emergency, and immediately people thought it was Kourtney. Unfortunately, they were right on the money, and the couple did have an emergency surrounding Kardashian's pregnancy. The couple broke their silence yesterday, telling fans about her recent hospital stay, sharing a photo of her and Travis holding hands on social media, accompanied by a long caption that started out with, "I will be forever grateful to my incredible doctors for saving our baby's life." Apparently, Kourtney had to be rushed into life-saving surgery for both her and her baby, which is so scary, especially knowing how hard it was for the couple to conceive and how hard they tried to become pregnant. In Kardashian's caption, she went on to say, "I am eternally grateful to my husband, who rushed to my side from tour to be with me in the hospital and take care of me afterwards. My rock." Of course, she also gave a shout out to her mom, Kris Jenner, for holding her hand through the whole thing. Kardashian already has 3 children that she shares with her ex Scott Disick, with their youngest Reign being born nearly 10 years ago in 2014. In her caption, she continued to explain, "As someone who's had 3 really easy pregnancies in the past, I wasn't prepared for the fear of rushing into urgent fetal surgery. I don't think anyone who hasn't been through a similar situation can begin to understand that feeling of fear. I have a whole new respect for the mamas who have had to fight for their babies while pregnant." She ended the post with, "Praise be to God, walking out of the hospital with my baby boy in my tummy and safe was the truest blessing." Barker has 2 children from his previous marriage with Shanna Moakler, Alabama and Landon, as well as a stepdaughter, Atiana. The couple was spotted leaving the LA hospital on Saturday. The couple have kept the details of what happened with the baby and what surgery she had quiet as of now. Barker's daughter, Alabama, showed her love for her father, posting to Instagram a note that he left for her that read, "You are my everything, signed Dad." A source told ET that Kourtney is doing better and back at home. Kourtney is Travis's main priority, especially throughout her pregnancy, and he would drop anything for her, the source said. "They are true parents and always make sure to be there for each other. She was grateful to have him by her side during this time. I'm definitely wishing all the best to Kourtney, Travis, and the whole family right now." This next story we have for today has been absolutely taking over the internet the last couple of days. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner, the celebrity couple who many people saw as couple goals, have called it quits. Not only are Jonas and Turner divorcing, but the more that comes out about it, the messier it seems to be. TMZ reported that Jonas apparently saw/heard something with Sophie Turner that was the last straw in his decision to file for divorce, and it involves a Ring camera. Now, we must take this with a grain of salt as the info is from multiple sources, but hey, I'm dying to know what the heck is going on. These sources told the outlet that Joe had access to a Ring camera that he said captured Sophie saying and/or doing something that made him realize the marriage was over. Pretty vague, I know, but there aren't too many things you could be caught doing on a camera that would be the final straw for a marriage. Apparently, Joe and Sophie's marriage had already been on the rocks for about 6 months, which was news to me, and apparently it was all over their significantly different lifestyles. As one source put it, she likes to party, he likes to stay home. TMZ has already reported previously that over the last 3 months, Joe has had their 2 children most of the time. Sophie has been in London, and Joe had been touring the US with his brothers, kids in tow. They also said that
they know Joe has been in touch with at least 2 divorce lawyers last week. The interesting thing about this was that both of these lawyers were apparently in LA, but he decided to officially file divorce documents on a Tuesday in Florida. The couple shared a joint statement to social media yesterday that said, "Statement from the 2 of us. After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly this is a united decision, and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy and for us and our children." In the divorce filing, it says the marriage between the parties is irrevocably broken. The couple have been married since 2019, welcoming daughter Willa in 2020 and their second daughter just last year. The couple are staying very quiet so far, and people really haven't been able to put their finger on why all of a sudden the couple is over. Definitely one of the more surprising celebrity splits, but at this point in 2023, it seems like everybody's splitting up. Let me hear your thoughts on Joe and Sophie in the comments below. What do you think the reason for their split was? What do you think Joe saw on that Ring camera? Let me hear all of your thoughts and theories on the pair in the comments below. And for our final news story of the day, on a bit of a lighter note to end off, Drake just posted a picture revealing his tour bra collection. Canadian rapper Drake has been receiving lots of love on his 2023 It's All a Blur tour, with videos from shows being posted all over social media. Some of the most viral clips from said tour are the ones of Drake reacting to some of the bras that his loving fans have graciously gifted him with. The best ones are the ones of Drake being shocked at some of the larger bra sizes, clearly unaware of how big bra sizes can go.
This might be the end of the road, I don't know. If these were real, I don't even know if I want to see them, because then I believe that aliens exist. This is what
We've all seen the clips of him getting the bras, but what happens to the undergarments after the show? Well, we finally have an answer. He has kept every single one. Yesterday, the rapper posted a photo to Instagram standing in front of the massive bra collection he's assembled over the past couple of months on tour. The collection truly ranges from all shapes, sizes, and colors, collecting lingerie from all over the world. The bra that really kicked things off was back in July when fan Veronica Correa tossed her size 36G bra on stage. After reading out the size, the rapper said, "Locate this woman immediately." This is the moment that went viral, which eventually led to Korea receiving offers from Playboy amongst other outlets.
It's me, I threw it. And he picked that up and said, 36G, find this girl immediately.
I guess these women thought throwing their bras would get the rapper's attention, and their plan certainly worked. Now Drake has a bra collection that is massive, not even being able to fit the entire thing in the photo he took with it. The bra throwing became pretty common after some of the women started getting noticed, trying to one-up the last largest size. This has led to a lot of viral and quotable moments from the rapper, like the time he told the audience that his son Adonis was there for the first time, asking them to keep their bras to themselves. It was all in good fun, and he ended up being trolled by his own father, who threw a comically large bra on stage with a sweet note attached. The note read, "Dad's wishing big things for you. I love you and making sure you're breastfed correctly." It always seems like Drake has some sort of joke going on with his fans, and I have to say, the videos that have come from this tour have been pretty entertaining.
POV your best friend threw her bra and Drake grabbed it.
Let me hear your thoughts on Drake and his massive bra collection. Did you go to one of his shows? Are one of your bras in Drake's collection? Let me hear all of your thoughts in the comments below.
First and foremost, we're diving headfirst into the world of pop culture, where the court of public opinion serves as the ultimate judge and jury. In this case, our spotlight is firmly fixed on Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner, whose relationship has recently undergone some rather turbulent times. But remember, dear viewers, gossip and speculation are like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. So Sophie Turner, the talented actress known for her role as Sansa Stark in the acclaimed Game of Thrones series, has recently given birth to their second child. Parenthood, they say, is a beautiful yet challenging journey. But what happens when one partner finds themselves submerged in the demands of stardom, while the other yearns for a tranquil retreat within the sanctuary of their own home? According to several sources who crossed paths with Joe Jonas in the wake of their second child's birth, Sophie was struggling. She found solace in the cocoon of her own home, hesitant to step into the blinding paparazzi flashbulbs and the ceaseless social events that punctuate their lives. Yet, there she stood, attending multiple events with Joe, a testament to her commitment. However, as rumors would have it, there came a tipping point. At one specific event, whispers of Sophie's discomfort swirled like a tempestuous storm. It seems she made it abundantly clear that she did not want to be there. A conflicted soul caught between her desire for privacy and the glaring spotlight her husband desperately wants a piece of. A strain is palpable in the air, like a violin string stretched to its absolute limit. And then another event followed, but this time Sophie was conspicuously absent. Joe Jonas lamented her absence and expressed his belief that she needed to rejoin the world outside of their home sanctuary. The rift, it seems, deepened. It's the push and pull of two souls, each craving something different, their desires echoing like a melancholic refrain. But here's where it gets intriguing, folks. In the ever-shifting sands of celebrity life, the roles seem to have reversed. You see, over the last 6 months leading up to these events, Joe Jonas, who's been imploring Sophie to step out into the limelight, found himself grumbling that she was too immersed in the party scene. What? First you complain that she goes out too much, and now you're whining about how she doesn't get out enough? Homie. So the turntables, am I right? Now, let's take a moment to consider these events from a different angle. Relationships, especially those in the public eye, are often painted with broad strokes, but the nuances are where truth resides. See, while challenges are commonplace, it's how we navigate them that truly matters. Sources close to Jonas have acknowledged these, quote, challenges in the relationship, but assert that he was supportive of Sophie getting gigs like the acting one in London. And then there's an abrupt twist to our tale. As previously mentioned on this channel, probably too many times to count, Joe Jonas has filed for divorce. A decision that was allegedly triggered by the emergence of Ring doorbell camera footage capturing Sophie doing something or saying something that tipped the scales. Once again, the power of technology to both unite and divide, to reveal the hidden and obscure the obvious. Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in a crossroad where speculation meets reality and the court of public opinion has rendered its judgment. But remember, in the realm of celebrity gossip, we're just spectators. We catch fleeting glimpses of their lives through a keyhole, never quite getting the full picture. Next up, did Doja Cat just prank her fans? That's right, pop sensation Doja Cat at her recent Instagram photo has fans concerned, causing quite a stir when she posted a photo sporting a neck brace. Fans were immediately worried about her well-being and the internet was buzzing with speculations, but because Doja Cat eventually came to set the record straight. During a recent interview with Victoria's Secret event in the Big Apple, the 27-year-old Demon star assured everyone that there's no need for alarm. With a casual tone and demeanor, she said, quote, "I'm fine. My neck is fine." End quote. Well, guess that solves it. Certainly a relief to hear. But what's the story behind the neck brace photo, you may wonder? Well, Doja Cat continued, quote, "So my friend here, my lovely date, got whiplash, and he takes it off sometimes, and I stole it from him." Ah, there we are, mystery solved. It appears that the neck brace was borrowed for a playful moment, and Doja Cat is, in her own words, quote, "literally fine, completely fine, my neck is great," end quote. Now let's not forget that Doja Cat is no stranger to the spotlight and the world of pop culture. She's been known to use her artistry to address various topics, including media speculation and accusations. In fact, she recently dropped a new song that addresses just that. It's fascinating how artists like Doja Cat often use music as a platform to express themselves and confront the issues they face, and in this case, she's not shying away from addressing the rumors and controversies that have surrounded her. The ability to use one's art to communicate personal experiences and feelings is a powerful tool, and it's something that we've seen throughout the history of music. From Bob Dylan's protest songs to Taylor Swift's reclaiming of her old songs, music has always been a vehicle for artists to share their thoughts and emotions with the world. In the age of social media, artists like Doja Cat have an even more direct line of communication with their fans. They insistently share their thoughts and experiences, dispelling rumors and addressing concerns in real time. But the questions still remain. Why do artists feel the need to clarify things like this in the first place? I mean, it should have been pretty obvious that her neck was fine when she pulled up to the interview without any neck brace on. Well, the world of celebrities is filled with speculation and gossip. See, every move they make is scrutinized, and every photo they post, or even fail to post, is dissected by fans and the media. In such an environment, it's no wonder that artists sometimes feel the need to set the record straight. It's also worth noting that artists, like anyone else, have a right to their privacy. See, they may choose to share certain aspects of their life with the public, but they also have the right to keep things to themselves. When rumors and speculations start to take a toll on their personal lives, it's only natural that they would want to address them. Doja Cat's decision to clarify the situation surrounding her neck brace photo is a reminder that celebrities are real people with real emotions. They face the same challenges and struggles we all do, and sometimes they just want to be heard and understood. It's always interesting to see how artists use their creativity and platforms to communicate with their fans and the world at large. And Doja Cat's recent revelation with her neck brace photo is a prime example of this. I saved the best for last today, you guys, as we're about to delve into an incident that would make anyone question the limits of human patience, empathy, and frankly, sanity. It's a tale of fiery tempers, culinary conundrums, and a burrito bowl that flew way too close to the sun, or more accurately, to a Chipotle worker's face. This unexpected eruption of chaos occurred in Ohio, where a Chipotle employee found herself in a situation that would leave anyone pondering the very nature of customer service, fast food frustrations, and the real consequence of food fights. Now, you might be wondering, what would possibly drive a seemingly ordinary person to commit such a bizarre and aggressive act? The incident began with a simmering discontent of a customer whose grievance remains shrouded in mystery. We can only speculate what happened, but it's safe to assume that something had gone awry with her order that fateful Tuesday night. What exactly transpired before the camera started rolling remains an enigma, but one thing was clear: this customer was not a happy camper. As the verbal altercation escalated, a giant fellow customer stepped into the fray, defending the bewildered Chipotle worker who was at the receiving end of the irate patron's tirade. The disgruntled customer vented her frustrations about the seemingly indeterminable wait for her food, to which the woman in gray responded with a poignant suggestion: then just go to Taco Bell. It's a moment that captures the essence of fast food fandom, where loyalty to one chain can border on the religious, and a mere suggestion to switch sides can feel like hearsay. Apparently. And just when it seems like a fragile ceasefire might be established, chaos reigned supreme. The customer, fueled by her culinary discontent, executed a move that nobody saw coming: a burrito bowl blitz. The contents of her meal were unceremoniously catapulted into the face of this poor Chipotle worker, and the result? A face full of burrito bowl ingredients, a stunned crowd, and a viral video for the ages. You have to admit, it's not every day you get to witness someone use a burrito bowl as a projectile weapon. But wait! There's more! The woman who had initially come to the defense of the Chipotle employee couldn't let the transgressor escape unscathed. As the disgruntled customer attempted to make a hasty exit, the defender swooped in, creating a brief physical showdown that further added to the surreal drama. It's as if this Chipotle momentarily turned into a wrestling ring, but instead of body slams and chokeholds, we had salsa and sour cream flying around. Now, one might wonder what kind of epic food catastrophe could provoke such a visceral response. Was it an insufficient dollop of guacamole that sent this customer over the edge? Perhaps a lackluster sprinkle of cheese, or an unjust distribution of rice. The specifics remain elusive, shrouded in the haze of fast food fury. The mystery of this discontented diner's grievance is one that might never be solved, leaving us to contemplate the depths of human frustration and the unpredictable triggers it can set off. Amidst the chaos, the Chipotle worker, who found herself in the receiving end of a burrito bowl barrage, has since reported suffering from anxiety due to the traumatic incident. It's a stark reminder of the real human toll that such altercations can take, even in the seemingly trivial world of fast food servers. Onlookers, though, were quick to commend the employee for keeping her cool in the face of this culinary tempest. In the end, this bizarre incident serves as a reflection of the complex and sometimes volatile relationship between customers and the service industry. It raises questions about the expectations we place on those who serve our meals, the lines we draw when it comes to customer behavior, and the lengths to which some may go to defend the honor of their preferred fast food chain. One thing is clear: the world can be a strange and unpredictable place. Even in the seemingly mundane corners of our lives, there's potential for chaos, conflict, and yes, even flying burritos. So the next time you find yourself in a fast food counter, remember the lesson of Ohio. Choose your words and your burrito bowl ingredients wisely, for you never know when your culinary choices might launch you into viral infamy. But on a serious note, y'all, don't mistreat your fast food employees. Take your frustrations up with a district manager or something, because in every case, I can almost guarantee you that whatever your problem is, minimum wage isn't nearly enough to put up with that kind of behavior.
And for number 10, we have Joe stating Sophie will always have his back. And this was said a few weeks before their marriage came to an end. Although it may be true platonically, it definitely won't be like that romantically, at least for a while. However, it is hard to believe Joe when he says Sophie will always have his back, especially because of all the rumors or hidden truths in the media right now. They're all stating how their marriage is unrepairable, with many indicators pointing at the end of their marriage. being a really messy one. So did Joe say this to try and deceive the public early on in order to keep things private for as long as he could? Or did he really believe that at the time, and something must have happened within the following weeks for them to split? And for number 9, we have Joe stating numerous times how great of a mom Sophie was towards their 2 daughters. However, rumors started spreading quickly after their decision for divorce was made public, indicating different reasons why their marriage ended. TMZ reportedly indicated the final straw was when Joe allegedly caught Sophie on their home Ring doorbell, which, if you aren't familiar with, captures sound and camera footage. Sophie apparently said or did something that Joe saw through the Ring doorbell and decided to end their marriage. What Joe saw or heard is still unconfirmed, but it does keep you wondering what would have been something Sophie did that was bad enough to end their seemingly loving marriage. If this is true, Joe stating Sophie's a great mom may be a little more questionable. As of now, Jonas's lawyer talked about the plans of having shared custody or parental responsibility as their 2 daughters are only 4 and 1 years old, which is a great chance for both parents to continue building a relationship with their children even after the divorce. And for number 8, we have apparently Sophie is very down to earth and very relatable, even though she has found massive success in her career as an actor. That was one thing Joe loved about her, as they were able to be genuinely happy once upon a time. However, some sources have said Sophie felt trapped in her relationship with Joe. These 2 ex-lovebirds have 7 years in between them two, which means they have a 7-year age gap, meaning Sophie began dating Joe when she was around 20 years old and he was 27, and that was back in 2016. They ended up getting married in 2019 when Sophie was 23 and Joe was 29. While apparently Turner has started to feel regret as she believes she has missed out on her youthful years and the ability to be as carefree as she would like to be. But instead, these 2 started a life together, being tied down to marriage and even welcoming their 2 daughters. Sophie was 24 when they had their first child together, and many are speculating how she may feel like she didn't fully enjoy her youthful years when she had the chance to, and instead was taking care of her family. The 7-year age gap may have been why they no longer see eye to eye, as they are both in very different stages in their lives, and as they continue to grow their careers and their own individuality. At number 7, we have seeking adventure. Jonas has talked about how he loves Turner's exploration and adventurous side. She loves seeking a new activity or trying a new thing. Unfortunately, this very thing Joe loved Sophie for could be a potential cause of their split. An unnamed source, allegedly a friend of Sophie's, confirmed issues between these 2 started around the time of Christmas of 2022. The source said Sophie then decided to separate with Joe during the start of summer of this year. She spent those summer months partying with her friends and enjoying her holiday all around Europe. And you may be wondering what Joe was doing while she was out and about. Well, he was taking care of their children. I understand if Sophie wanted a little break because it can be exhausting to be a mother, especially to 2 young children. However, her drive for adventure has definitely not helped the relationship between her and her former husband, as the time apart led to Joe filing for divorce. Since she had an active career in this industry since she was 14, she may be curious about what have entailed during those times if she didn't start her career. Well, now she is very successful from what she does, and maybe she just wants to take a break from her life a little bit and live the parts she missed out on. And for number 6, we have deceiving the public. In May of this year, which should have been roughly around the time Sophie decided to separate from Joe, he was performing live at concert when he stopped to ask where Sophie was among the audience, and told her he just wanted to say that he loves her. Of course, when it comes to the public eye, it isn't always easy to tell everyone the truth, nor do they owe it to the public. However, it is interesting how the timing of this, when it happened, fits in right before Sophie allegedly split from Joe, making us wonder how long problems were really swept under the rug. I mean, these 2 were iconic and well known for how seemingly perfect they appeared. They took funny paparazzi photos together in the past, which ultimately gave fans the appearance of a happy and funny couple. The home Joe and Sophie owned was also put up for sale weeks before the news broke out about their divorce. Talks about a divorce must have been actively occurring, as they clearly had a rough summer apart from each other. And at number 5, we have commitment. Joe has revealed in an interview in the past how he loves Sophie because she's so hardworking and committed when it comes to her roles. Unfortunately, the role of being a mother has been on the rough side. Allegedly, people who are close to Jonas and Turner knew their relationship was coming to an end, as they spent the entire summer basically apart. Their lifestyle has no longer been matching up and working together as if it used to. Instead, friends of Sophie say she has never experienced those teenage years, finding herself herself and seeking different partners. Apparently, ever since the kids came along, she has felt trapped. The commitment between work life and now kids is definitely not an easy one to balance. Joe seems to have wanted a settled down life as he is a little older than Sophie. However, Turner does feel like she's missed out on her young years because of the industry she is in and began working for when she was only 14 years old as an actress. Her friends say she isn't ready for that as she's never experienced everything she clearly wants to do. And for number 4, we have family pressure. An unnamed friend of Turner said there's been a lot of pressure Sophie has been put under due to the families comparing Nick and Priyanka's relationship. And if you don't know who Nick Jonas is, he's the brother of Joe and another member of their famous band, the Jonas Brothers. Nick is married to Priyanka, who is 10 years older than him, and sources say because Priyanka is not only older but is more mature and on the same page as Nick when it comes to family life and careers, Sophie has felt a lot of stress due to this. Allegedly, Joe and his family want Sophie to be focused and similar to Joe and his goals in the same way Nick and Priyanka are. But due to Sophie being now 27, she feels like she's wasted all of her time on her good youthful years working. Because of that, she wants to spend her time now catching up and making memories to replace the time she thought was wasted. And you're probably wondering why Sophie even married Joe if that's how she was feeling. Well, sources say there was no issues in the beginning surrounding their age gap, but as time has gone on, it has proved they both want very different things. I mean, your own family pressure is scary enough, but imagine your partner's family. And for number 3, we have Joe saying in the past how he is the social butterfly in the relationship and Sophie is the homebody. This may have been true at the time, however, it is clear through all the attention these two have on them right now, Sophie was the one seeking excitement, whereas Joe has been allegedly taking care of their 2 children. While the world was in lockdown during the pandemic, Sophie revealed in a video how she loved being at home all the time, whereas Joe felt like he was in prison. It is interesting to see how things change and makes you wonder what actually caused these issues. Did something happen for Sophie to come out of her shell? In fact, sources say that the time Sophie went to Europe for vacation, Joe actually flew there, as well as their 2 daughters. Joe tried to fix the relationship, however it is said that they were unable to work through any differences they may have had, which led Joe fly back to the US with his children, who has since been living with him. Allegedly, Sophie's friend told media outlets that Turner has only begun living her life as she has been in the industry since she was 14. From there, she got married and began a family while in her mid-20s, which may help us understand why she feels like she has to get out rather than live the life she did. And for number 2, we have privacy. Joe has been well aware of Sophie trying to hide their children's face due to constant cameras and eyes on them. Sophie indeed had great intentions protecting her children from the harsh and cruel world. Joe, however, is facing major backlash online after the first photos of him have been released ever since the divorce was filed. The photos show Joe with his 2 daughters out in public without his wedding ring on, and fans were quick to share their opinions as many people believe this was an obvious PR stunt as they were seated outdoors where the paparazzi were able to take pictures of them. Whether he hired the paparazzi or not, it is definitely unfair to the children who have been protected by Turner in the past. Now suddenly the divorce news comes out and his kids' faces are shown all over the internet. Some think Joe did it in order to get back at Sophie, but obviously the only people that know the full truth are Joe and Sophie themselves. And finally, in our number 1 spot, we have Jonas's fake personality. Some fans speculate the 2008 Taylor Swift song Mr. Perfectly Fine is actually about Joe Jonas. If you didn't know, Joe and Taylor dated back in the day, and many believe their relationship was the inspiration behind Taylor's song, with lyrics basically explaining a man who has caused so many issues behind the scenes but refuses to be truthful to the public. It also discusses how this mystery man actually crafts and plans his strategies so he does not appear to be the bad guy in the public eye. What makes this so-called theory even crazier is Sophie's Instagram post. Back in August of this year, Turner attended a Taylor Swift concert and many fans gave her bracelets that read Mr. Perfectly Fine. Those bracelets were visible in her Instagram photo, and it is obviously hard to deny how interesting this theory really is, or if it even is a theory. Now some fans are split between Team Jonas versus Team Turner, as I'm sure it takes two to tangle. For now, Joe and Sophie have decided to share a joint statement regarding their divorce and simply ask for privacy for them and their children. We all remember Ellen DeGeneres and James Corden's huge scandal, right? Well, now Jimmy Fallon is facing similar accusations surrounding a toxic work environment. Fallon has been running this popular talk show, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, since 2014, and their 10th season was just recently wrapped up earlier this year. However, many employees working for Fallon have come out to discuss how their dream job was now ruined due to Fallon's behavior. It was apparently so bad that some started to refer to Jimmy's nicer days as good Jimmy days, and the days he is harder to work with as bad Jimmy days. Apparently, during rehearsals, he would be drunk, some employees believed at least, and would forget actions he has done. The erratic behavior was so bad that many employees witnessed this happening. Unfortunately, when you are not treating everyone nicely, it is going to affect how your employees act, as well as the potential of bad management skills are slowly rubbing off on them. In fact, they went through 9 showrunners within the past 9 years, which, if you ask me, seems like none of them enjoy working in the so-called toxic work environment. If it was such a great job, I'm sure they would not have gone through so many showrunners, especially because this job would be one many people only dream about. Due to the fame and social ladder Jimmy Fallon has climbed, many of those who have worked for him were too afraid to stand up for themselves, as angry Fallon does not seem like a goal for anyone. It makes it harder when there is not only a power imbalance, but also because there are many risks for those that are employed to The Tonight Show. Speaking up can not only cause Fallon to be angry, but your whole job is at risk. And for many people, that risk is not worth losing a job, which is totally fair. Not only is Fallon directly accused of belittling and trying to intimidate those who worked below him, other bosses working for the talk show were allegedly doing the same thing. It seems the whole workplace continued to grow in toxicity, as others were beginning to act the very same way Fallon was. Many claim to be actually afraid of Jimmy due to the extremities of his outbursts. Because of his inconsistent outbursts, I don't blame them for walking around eggshells all the time. 7 former employees of The Tonight Show have stated the toxic work environment has impacted their mental health. Yup, not 1 or 2, but 7. It was so toxic that many employees have come out to say it was common to hear other people talking and joking about wanting to take their own lives. Not only that, but many often refer to the guest dressing room as their crying room because of how many people would go in there when they were upset and let their emotions out. It must have really been terrible for these employees to start giving nicknames to rooms they used to cry in. It must have been hard trying to get through your day at work, especially with all that stress and pressure surrounding you. Clearly, more than just a few employees felt this way while working for Fallon, as making jokes about ending their life because of how awful the work environment was for them shows how bad this workplace was for a numerous amount of staff members, and that sounds extremely unhealthy, and I can't even imagine how these employees are feeling. Rolling Stones actually reached out to 30 more former employees for The Tonight Show for comments, and many did talk about how Fallon has comedic gifts and talent, but none, yes, 0 of them mentioned a positive experience while working for Fallon. Remember the 9 showrunners they went through in 9 years? Well, none of them gave a comment or even a statement of support, which is very common in the industry. You may be wondering what Jimmy Fallon, the man himself, has to say about this. Well, after these reports came out, he then decided to have a Zoom call meeting with the members of his staff and apologize for his behavior by stating how sorry he was and how he felt embarrassed. Well, it is unfortunate to hear another talk show host who seemed to be so loving on camera to be the complete opposite behind the scenes, because nobody ever called out Fallon on his behavior. He could have been unaware they were feeling mistreated. I don't blame the employees for not calling him out, because not only is Jimmy their boss, but it does put their job at risk. And if all the claims of his erratic behaviors are true, I would absolutely do anything I can to avoid being on Fallon's bad side. Although no one directly addressed Fallon over the years, it is one of his responsibilities to ensure the workplace is somewhat safe for everyone, and if that means finally hearing what others have called you out on, then so be it. It is truly unfair for these employees, as we also have no idea how long this has been going on for. While the cycle of showrunners date back to 2014, which means there is potential the workplace has not been safe since the very beginning of this talk show. Well, now that he has apologized, I guess we'll have to wait and see if employees feel like this was genuine and if changes begin to happen. Now, there's no way you haven't heard about Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's divorce. Well, many celebrities shared their thoughts on this news. If you somehow didn't hear, Joe Jonas has filed for divorce from his wife of 4 years and the mother of their 2 children, Sophie Turner. There has been a ton of speculation hinting at a divorce for some time. However, However, just recently it has been confirmed once Jonas filed. The two have apparently been having issues since last December, and Sophie also decided to separate from Joe during the beginning of summer of this year. Joe tried to reignite their relationship by flying to the UK to visit her. However, they were unable to solve their problems as Joe filed for divorce. Well, Sophie took it to Instagram to post a statement from both her and Joe. The statement discusses how her and Joe mutually decided to end the marriage and hope everyone respects their privacy, especially during this time, for the sake of them and their children. Marion Cotillard, best known for her Academy Award-winning performance in La Vie en Rose, ran to the Instagram comments and made it known she was devastated by the news. She commented, "No, no, no, no," with a bunch of extra letter O's, and her cap locks turn on. So yes, she was obviously hurt and surprised by this news. Since then, Turner did turn off the comments on her post. Even though comments are now restricted, some of Sophie's fellow Game of Thrones stars such as Emilia Clarke and Maisie Williams showed the now ex-couple support on their decision by giving the post a like. In fact, Maisie was actually Turner's maid of honor back in 2019 when she got married to Joe. Even Emily Ratajkowski, a popular model and actress, addressed her thoughts on this divorce. She took to TikTok to talk about how some find it quote-unquote chic to divorce before they turn 30. Although she doesn't mention anyone by name, this video was posted while all the news about this divorce broke out. And especially since Sophie is 27, it does seem like Emily was hinting at the situation surrounding Jonas and Turner. And if you're wondering how Joe's bandmates, aka brothers, are reacting to this news, well, nothing has come out yet, but the first concert they had since divorce filing was in Arizona. On stage, the three brothers Joe, Nick, and Kevin shared a group hug, followed by Nick giving Joe a shout out on stage while expressing his joy to be back where his favorite person in the entire world was born, and that was his brother Joe. I'm very sorry, Kevin. Another celebrity that vocalized their opinion on this situation was Lily Reinhart. This actress is best known for her role as Betty in the show Riverdale, starring many other actors you may have heard of before such as Cole Sprouse and KJ Apa. Well, she decided to tweet her opinion by discussing how she's disgusted by men in the industry as they continue to paint women as the toxic ones. Although she did not directly address any names, many believe it was about Joe and Sophie, especially because she chose to tweet this following the news of their divorce. She also tweeted a similar message before this one, and her tweet read, "Stop making villains out of women every chance you get," especially since there has been numerous rumors surrounding the situation, and most of them accusing Sophie of being a bad mother because of the apparent partying phase Turner is in. This definitely correlates with what Lily tweeted about, but obviously we don't know for sure. So far, it has been pretty mixed where people stand when it comes to the news of this divorce. Many fans believe Joe and Sophie should do whatever it takes for them to be happy co-parents for their kids, whereas others are extremely devastated and shocked by this news, especially because of how many people have looked up to them and idolized them. These celebrities also seem to be mixed on where they stand with both Joe and Sophie, but maybe with time more people will speak their opinion on what happened. Although this sudden news did shock me, I'm hoping these two are able to move forward and start a new chapter in their lives, all while co-parenting. A divorce is hard enough for both parties and even harder for children. Now imagine your family's issues being blasted all over the internet. It definitely makes the situation a little harder to manage because of all the heavy public speculation. I mean, we've seen a countless amount of celebrity divorces, and with maybe some time apart can help strengthen their relationship in order to co-parent. While we're on the topic of Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner, Joe Jonas is facing a ton of backlash ever since his alleged PR stunt. Right after the news about his divorce became public, Joe was seen with his two daughters alongside the nanny at a restaurant. So what's the big deal? Well, Sophie has always made it known that she cares about her children's privacy. Pictures of their daughter were never released to the public. Their second child's name was also never been told to the public. And with the amount of attention and cameras these celebrities have on them all the time, Sophie was only being a responsible mother when it came to protecting their children, and who can blame her? In fact, Sophie has opened up in the past about how being in the spotlight since the age of 14 has definitely damaged her mental health. Knowing this, we can only assume she does not want her kids to go through what she has been through, and we all know the media can be extra tough when it comes to women, and with two daughters, she's only taking precaution. It doesn't make sense why Joe decided to suddenly show their kids publicly right after the news broke out, and it wasn't like the paparazzi caught the photos of the kids by accident, as Joe decided to sit outside outside facing the paparazzi. I'm assuming if this is a PR stunt, it was done to make Joe seem like a great father looking after his kids during this tough time, but it definitely backfired as a ton of people are angry with how he is being careless and completely disregarding the importance of their children's safety, as discussed by Sophie a numerous amount of times. This does not make Joe look good, as it appears he is using his children to boost his appearance. There has been a numerous amount of people responding to the PR stunts by Jonas, and many are very disappointed and stated they've lost all respects for him and question his personality as a whole. Joe has not faced much backlash in the past, which continued to mislead his fans to believing he's a good person. However, theories of Taylor Swift's 2008 single Mr. Perfectly Fine are indeed about Joe Jonas. The song talks about a toxic relationship and how this unnamed person would always orchestrate things in advance to prevent looking bad in front of the public eye while hiding all the issues behind the scenes, which in this case would align with how Joe is currently being seen. I personally think this was a huge mistake for Jonas, as it honestly made me see him through a different light as well. I mean, what was the need to have to get your kids involved into this drama surrounding their parents? It makes it even worse that Sophie made it very obvious and well known to the public about the importance of safety when it came to their two daughters. So it does seem like whatever intention Joe has behind this PR stunt was not a good one. It truly makes it seem like Joe is doing this to spite his former partner, and I am glad people are calling him out for his actions. At number 10, we have Sophie wanting to live in the UK. Turner was born in Northampton, located in England, and has always talked about how much she misses it there. Whereas Joe was born and raised in America, it makes sense why this would cause an issue, especially because in 2022, she shared about how much she was trying to relocate her family and Joe back to England. She discusses how, although she does enjoy living in America, it is not always the best for her mental health, as she needs to be surrounded by her friends and family back at home. Sophie has also been very open in the past about her mental health struggles, which is completely a valid reason to want to move back to your hometown. Turner actually wanted her daughters to grow up having the same education she received back in England because of how lucky she felt to have that. Sophie also did say she was hoping Joe and her would move there to raise and settle with their family. However, she did say Joe would need a little convincing. After all, if they can't decide on a location for their family they created together, it is clearly going to cause further issues. And for number 9, we have the love song Joe dedicated to Sophie. As romantic as this may sound, looking back at the lyrics now, it does seem a little alarming. Joe sings about kissing the tears off her face while describing an interesting perspective of their relationship. He also says how it's the old him as he tries to heal Sophie, as it is not a secret she has struggled with mental health. As loving as it may seem, it makes you wonder if Joe made Sophie depend on him all the time. Well, yes, he apparently helped her see herself in the better light, as her self-esteem has been damaged due to the public. However, it is never healthy to be fully dependent on a partner. He also discusses how they will figure out the issues together, but it isn't clear whether what issue it is or the other has definitely not been resolved enough to keep their marriage. Whether you think this song is just a romantic way Joe was expressing his love to Sophie, or if it really does have some red flags, that is for you to decide. And for number 8, we have Joe's insecurity and lack of trust. Sources have come out to say that Joe allegedly caught Sophie saying or doing something on the Ring doorbell that ended up being the last straw of their relationship. Some believe this is a major red flag, because why is Joe suspicious or needing to view what the Ring has captured? After all, you would expect any healthy marriage to have trust in their partners. Was Joe just at the right place and the right time when it came to checking the Ring footage, or was he suspicious of her, which is why he's been checking it in the first place? It is interesting because we now know that they've been having issues since last December according to sources, and obviously the behavior Joe is indicating further shows something must have been on his mind or bothering him, which encouraged him to act upon his thoughts. I don't know if this is equal to secretly checking your partner's phone or worse. And for number 7, we have the recent listing of the former couple's home in Miami. Before any news of the divorce was made public, Turner and Jonas listed their $15 million mansion, which is a huge house with over 10,000 square feet and is even located in a gated community. This was a huge red flag because of the silence about the relationship at the time. I mean, so many mixed opinions and theories, it is really hard to navigate why the couple was selling their home. Well, now we know it was because of the divorce filing that came quickly after. We all know Sophie and Joe want different things when it comes to the location of their home. In fact, they aren't seeing eye to eye, as Joe wants to stay in the US whereas Sophie misses her birthplace in England. Clearly, they were unable to agree on aspects of their marriage, and with the selling of their home where they raised their kids together, it is hard to not feel a little sad for them and what they are going through, especially in the public eye. And for number 6, we have the potential controlling behavior. Although these are speculations, many sources indicate that the Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner was hurt by her now former partner Joe, because shortly after the birth of her second child, Jonas was allegedly pushing Sophie to attend industry events and wanted her to be out of the house more, even though she has mentioned in the past about her thoughts on paparazzi and being photographed. Turner would rather be at home spending time with their 2 kids, including a newborn. She did, however, end up attending these events with Joe, but expressed her discomfort and uncertainty about these situations. It obviously is not the best feeling being pressured to attend events with your husband, especially right after birth. During an event Joe attended without Sophie, he discussed how he was bothered and annoyed by Sophie's absence, which could have further contributed to their rocky marriage. Sorry Joe, but I'm on Team Sophie on this one. I mean, she just had your child. Give her a rest. And for number 5, we have busy schedules. Most of us have busy schedules anyways. I couldn't even imagine the schedules of these celebrities. Well, another red flag that could have potentially added some fire in their relationship is the fact that their schedules did not align. Joe is busy currently doing a world tour with his brothers, and Sophie is constantly filming for shows or movies, and most recently was located in the UK to do so. Time apart for this couple could have caused friction, as it isn't always easy to communicate with your partner and see eye to eye when you're halfway across the world from each other. Apparently their friends knew about some issues surrounding their marriage, and being busy was one of them. Sources claiming to be friends with the former couple have come out to express that they honestly thought the two would get through, as many married partners experience overlapping schedules and rough patches. Unfortunately, that would soon be proved to be wrong, as Joe filed for divorce on September 5th. And for our number 4 spot, we have family disapproval. It has been said that Sophie has been under a ton of stress when it comes to being Joe's wife. Allegedly, Joe and his family compare Sophie to Nick's wife Priyanka. And if you have been living under a rock or simply don't know, Nick is Joe's younger brother and member of their band, the Jonas Brothers. He is married to the gorgeous Indian actress Priyanka, and these two have a 10-year age gap, as Priyanka is 41 and Nick is 30. Jonas and his family compare the two ladies because they want Sophie to be more mature and on the same page as her partner Joe. It has been said that because of Priyanka's age, she has a more mature mindset and is ready for the commitment her and Nick promised, as they both are ready to settle down. In comparison, it has been said that Sophie feels like she's missed out on her youthful years due to her entering her acting career at the early age of 14 years old. It definitely would not be easy, especially at the age as you struggle to find yourself as you transition from being a kid to a teenager. She has felt a lot of pressure and a sense of being trapped because of this, and I don't blame her for being stressed, because I could not imagine having my partner's family compare me to another woman. And for number 3, we have the age gap between these two ex-lovebirds. Although age gaps are fairly normal in some relationships, it may be hard to make things work in the long run if both parties are on different pages. While many fans believe Sophie was too young when she started dating Joe. In fact, Joe was the one to reach out to her through Instagram back in 2016 after a bunch of their mutual friends thought they would be good for one another. Joe was 27 while Sophie was 20 during their first date. They have a 7-year age gap, which can work for some. However, because Sophie was in the very early stages of her 20s, whereas Joe was headed towards the end of his 20s, some predicted this to be an issue for the long run, which seems to be somewhat true. Well, at least according to sources claiming to be Sophie's friends, apparently those two are just at completely different stages of their life right now, as Joe, now 34, wants to settle down since they have 2 daughters, whereas Sophie, who is now 27, feels like she missed out on her youthful years as a teenager and young adult. Especially since she's been in the industry since she was 14 years old, it is a little difficult not to be curious about how your life would have been if she didn't settle at that young age. And for number 2, we have the constant switch-ups. It is a little interesting to notice how Joe in the past has wanted Sophie to be a certain way, but now that she has done exactly what he wanted, he is upset and further caused issues. During the lockdown, due to the pandemic, Joe and Sophie talked about how they are opposites, as Joe is a social butterfly and enjoys going out, whereas Sophie is a homebody and does not mind staying in. The lockdown had Jonas comparing it to a prison, whereas Sophie loves staying at home all the time. Same girl. As mentioned before, Joe would be upset whenever Sophie did not want to attend events and preferred to stay back with the kids. Well, how the tables have turned. Joe has reportedly been taking care of his 2 kids all the time, even during his world tour, while Sophie is out partying with her friends. The outgoingness Joe once expressed he wanted from Sophie has now become a major issue in their relationship, as he is ready to settle down, whereas Sophie has only started experiencing those youthful years she feels like she missed out on. And for our number 1 spot, we have Joe and Sophie breaking up right before their marriage. Yes, you absolutely heard me right. This is the definition of a red flag. Well, at least to me. Joe actually got down on one knee and proposed to Sophie a year after after they began dating. That was back in 2017, and the couple didn't tie the knot until the beginning of May in 2019 in Las Vegas. Well, apparently before the wedding, the couple actually split for 24 hours because not one, but both of them got cold feet. Apparently it is quite common for at least one partner to get feelings of doubts and for questions to arise surrounding marriage, and Turner stated it was the worst day of their lives. But they did end up getting back together pretty quickly. Although they were able to patch things up in time to prepare the relationship, clearly these feelings have continued along 4 years after their wedding, as Joe has now filed for divorce. But also for them to both have cold feet and turn to a breakup rather than trying to work through and talk to each other about their feelings, it might have been a better strategy than breaking up, but who am I to judge? Whether Joe and Sophie's past actions caused any indication towards how their marriage was going to end, it is undeniable these two were once upon a time deeply in love, and through time, things change. I wish nothing but the best for these two as they begin to navigate new chapters in their lives and co-parent for their 2 daughters. At number 10, we have Joe pressuring Sophie to attend industry events. It should be obvious if your partner expresses how they don't want to go somewhere, maybe don't force them to go. Well, according to multiple sources, Joe was pressuring Sophie to attend these industry events with him and even talked to other people, expressing how annoyed he was when she didn't attend. Sophie sometimes would give in and go to these events with Joe. However, she allegedly also expressed discomfort as she did not want to be seen in public and further be photographed. And if you already think Joe is crossing boundaries, you are absolutely right. But wait, there's even more. Joe allegedly did all of this after his wife gave birth to their second child together back in 2022. Poor Sophie probably just wanted to recover from childbirth, plus we all know how harsh the media can be, especially when it comes to appearances of women. If Joe was a good husband, not only would he have been supportive and understanding with Sophie's decision to stay at home, but he would also not be telling other people how he is frustrated with her not leaving the house. I mean, it's nobody's business but their own, and honestly, Sophie has every right to do whatever she wants. At the end of the day, Joe did call her a homebody and he was a social butterfly, so let her just be happy and enjoy her time at home. For number 9, we have Joe's alleged sexism and misogyny. After all the news of the divorce came out, it has been pretty clear speculations jump from one side to the other. However, many believe Joe actually has a past when it comes to flipping his problems and issues, turning the narrative onto the women in the relationship. In the past, Joe has always compared and contrasted how social he was and how Sophie may not be as outgoing as him, as we stated before. So why is he now trying to make it seem like it's a bad thing Sophie's enjoying her time partying with her friends? I understand they have kids together now, but I'm sure if Joe was partying with his friends, it wouldn't be seen as a big deal. Stereotypically, women stay at home while men go out, and it seems like Joe can't get out of this 18th century's mindset. If he wanted Sophie to go out and leave the house more often, wouldn't this not bother him? Well, it seems like Joe has a tendency to flip things onto others and not treat them with respect. I mean, he did break up with Taylor Swift through a 27-second voicemail. Yup, big yikes. Well, now it seems like he is continuing his track record once again. And for our number 8 spot, we have Joe not being supportive towards Sophie after the birth of their second child. Apparently, shortly after the birth of their second daughter back in 2022, Joe was ignorant and completely lacked emotional support towards his wife. Sophie did not want to leave the house as she was recovering from literally giving birth to his child. She also did not want to be photographed right after 9 long months, which is totally understandable considering how public their lives are. And I'm sure as soon as Turner puts a foot out the door, many photos would instantly be taken of her because of the paparazzi. She has even addressed her mental health struggles in the past, and a big issue she found was being on camera at the age of 14 as the whole world picks her apart. And I'm sure it's still tough for Sophie to show up to any public appearance. In the past, this former couple has talked about how Joe and Sophie's relationship building, as Joe apparently helped Sophie see herself for the true beauty she is. If Joe knew all the struggles Sophie has dealt with in the past, especially due to the judgment of her appearance, him not being supportive for her and her boundaries, especially right after birth, is just crazy to me. For number 7, we have Joe's horrible PR stunt. Oh god, although this happened recently after the couple called it splits, this PR stunt just further highlighted toxicity from Jonas, which is why it had to be included in our top 10. If you haven't heard, Joe's first public appearance since the news about his divorce was with his 2 daughters and nanny as they were photographed on a patio while they seemed to be enjoying lunch. They not only sat outside, but Joe was also sitting facing the paparazzi, which seems a little bit interesting. The worst part is these photos were the first photos of their two daughters the pair welcomed back in 2022 and 2020. Sophie, being a good and responsible mother, decided she didn't want her girls in the public eye in order to protect them from the media and for privacy reasons. Joe completely disregarded that and decided to use his daughters as a way to portray himself as a single, loving father of his two kids. Well, the internet quickly debunked that, as it was clear what his true intentions were with this PR stunt, and it was to spite Sophie. I'm sure any responsible parent, even during a divorce, would put their children first, but I guess to Joe, getting back at his ex is more important than being a father who protects their kids and respects the mother of his kids' wishes. At number 6, we have the lack of trust. I think most of us have heard the rumors circulating about the Ring doorbell. Well, if you haven't heard of it yet, basically it has been said that Joe allegedly saw or heard Sophie do something on the Ring camera that made him realize the relationship was not going to work out. The Ring doorbell captures both audio and video footage that homeowners can view through an app. And first of all, Joe, why are you checking the Ring footage? Many accuse Joseph of being a spy, especially because he's been with Sophie for 4 years. I'm sure they are able to trust each other, right? Without trust, is there even a relationship? Many fans are jumping into the conversation by tweeting and making memes about this situation for what Joe potentially heard that caused him to call it quits. Some fans say Joe heard Sophie say that Nick was her favorite Jonas brother and Camp Rock was not her favorite movie, and so much more. The memes have gone endless. In our number 5 spot, we have his family pressures. Apparently, Joe and his family have been putting the ladies against each other as they continue to compare them. And those ladies are nobody except, of course, the gorgeous Sophie Turner and Priyanka Chopra. Priyanka is the wife to Jonas's younger brother, Nick, and because it has been said that Priyanka and Nick are both on the same page when it comes to settling down and raising a family they built together, whereas Joe wants to settle down and Sophie wants to continue living her life, especially since she allegedly feels like she's missed out on her youthful years having fun and instead have been working since she was an early teen. Due to this, it has been said that Joe and his family have been constantly comparing Priyanka with Sophie, which I'm sure does not further help the situation. We also have to keep in mind Priyanka and Sophie are two different people, which is why it's pretty obvious they're going to want different things. Sophie did enter the spotlight at 14, which makes sense on why she feels like she missed out on her teenage and early adult years. I just think it's toxic to have your partner's family tell you who you should be more like, but also, why isn't Joe standing up for Sophie? And for number 4, we have the age gap. Although age gaps tend to be normal in relationships and aren't directly toxic, Joe did start seeing and dating Sophie when she was only 19 years old and he was 26. 7 years isn't too much of an age gap, however, considering the fact Sophie was 19, she was honestly quite young. This alone may have not been toxic, but the power imbalance can be inconsistent as Joe was almost in his late 20s and Sophie just became a legal adult. We often see age gap relationships in Hollywood, and not all of the relationships end the same way Joe and Sophie's did. However, considering these two were apparently on different pages, it seems like the 7-year age gap started to affect them. Joe was ready to settle down with Sophie, and there's 2 children, but Sophie still wants to enjoy her 20s while she can. She did get engaged to Joe when she was 21, married to him by 23, and even had their first daughter by 24. Because we know all this, no wonder Sophie feels like she's been missing out on her younger years. She did start acting at 14, and I'm sure it's hard to live a quote-unquote normal life when you are as famous as she is. Whether the age gap has anything to do with the downfall of their marriage, I personally think the fact that they both currently want different things is not further helping. And for number 3, we have the Jonas Injectables campaign. This one doesn't directly affect Sophie, but it does tell us a little bit more about Joe. Back in 2022, Joe did a campaign with a seemingly positive message about loving yourself. The advertisement was called Beauty on Your Terms. It was a way to find an alternative to face-changing surgeries and procedures that we see many in the show business get. This ad, however, was promoting an injectable solution which is the competitor for Botox, in order to smoothen and hide fine lines and wrinkles. So the whole message surrounding feeling beautiful, boosting your self-esteem, and to fit into mainstream beauty standards all stem from this product you inject, which can be a little contradicting, especially because of the campaign Jonas starred in, centered around feeling good in in your own skin. And hey, there's nothing wrong with doing whatever you want to your face, but it is maybe not the best move for this campaign directly, as it takes away the message about feeling good being your own person and instead directing you into ways you can fit into Hollywood's obsession with staying young. Plus, Joe has a pretty large fan base with some young fans, and whether that's his responsibility or not, that's up for discussion. And for number 2, we have the breakup right before their wedding. Yep, sounds pretty toxic to me. Well, apparently right before the lovebirds decided to get married in 2019, they broke up for 24 hours due to both of them getting cold feet, which apparently is normal right before marriage, as you are both about to make one of the biggest commitments of your life. But not only did Joe feel this way, Sophie felt the exact same way as well. Because of this, the two split for 24 hours before they quickly decided they could overcome their feelings of cold feet and did indeed want to get married. Although this is common, I think it could be a little toxic to jump straight into a breakup when they could have talked things out before concluding to the end of their relationship. I understand it can be difficult to act rationally in high stress or emotional times, but communication is key in a relationship, and I'm sure they could have both worked through whatever emotions both parties were feeling in order to make both of them feel secure and happy moving forwards. In our number 1 spot, we have Sophie Turner's friendship with Joe Jonas's famous 12-time Grammy-winning ex-girlfriend, no one else but Taylor Swift. I'm not really sure if this is toxic for Sophie or if there's more warning flags on Joe for this one. I mean, Sophie has shown support for Taylor since 2021, showcasing her love for her music as she actively posts what she's listening to from Taylor's album. Furthermore, a song she has famously posted about in the past was Taylor's hit 2008 song Mr. Perfectly Fine, which is speculated to be about Joe Jonas. We all know how Taylor and Joe's breakup didn't end with rainbows and sunshine, so it is interesting to see a friendship spark between these two ladies. Good for them though, because Joe does have a reputation for blaming all his issues on the women in the relationship he's had in the past, so for these two girls being unproblematic towards each other even when Sophie was dating Joe, it makes me really happy for them. As Joe and Sophie navigate their new chapters with their children, we hope they can learn from these moments and build a more positive future. We wish them both the best in their separate journeys.